He was sitting across from him at every single family barbecue, a DEA agent trained to hunt drug kingpins, and the most wanted drug manufacturer in the Southwest, Heisenberg, was passing him the guacamole. Today, we go through every single moment Hank Schrader had Walter White in his hands and let him walk. Hank Schrader is a DEA special agent, boisterous, confident, and genuinely good at his job. From season 1, he hunts a mysterious new blue meth operation run by someone the DEA names Heisenberg. What Hank can't allow himself to imagine is that Heisenberg is his brother-in-law.
Right, no. Right, absolutely not.
A high school chemistry teacher sitting across from him at every family dinner. That blind spot costs him everything. The clues were there from the very beginning, and we're going through every single one of them. Moment 1. The gas mask at the high school. Walt cooks his first batches in an old RV out in the desert. And he's sloppy.
Recognize that? Huh?
He leaves behind a gas mask at the cook site. Hank and his partner Gomez find it. The trail leads straight to Walt's school, where 2 respirators and some glassware have recently gone missing from the chemistry department. Hank visits the school, walks right through the chemistry hall, and even talks to Walt. He tells Walt, with a smirk, "You don't want people to start wondering about you." He says it as a joke. It is literally the exact answer. Instead of looking harder, Hank pins the theft on Hugo, the school janitor, who happens to have marijuana in his car. Case closed. Hugo gets fired. Walt walks free. Hank had the geographic link, the equipment match, and his brother-in-law standing right in front of him. But because he couldn't picture Walt as a criminal, he outsourced the guilt onto the easiest available target. What if Hank had simply asked, "Who in this building actually knows how to use this equipment?" There's only one answer, and it's standing right next to him. But this wasn't even close to the most obvious miss. Moment 2. $500,000 in cash.
I'll be the Danny.
No, Skylar, that is not a good idea.
Walt and Skylar are separating. Hank is helping Walt move his things out of the family home. He picks up an unusually heavy duffel bag and asks what's inside. Walt, completely deadpan, looks Hank in the eye and says, $500,000 in cash. Hank bursts out laughing. He assumes Walt is joking. He doesn't look inside the bag. The conversation moves on. Walt told the truth, literally, verbatim, exactly what was in the bag, and Hank's psychological filter was so strong that the truth registered as a punchline. A DEA agent, trained to detect deception, was defeated not by a lie, but by the truth delivered too plainly to be believed. What if Hank had opened the bag? The entire show ends in Season 3, Episode 1. No Gus Fring. No underground lab, no empire. But Hank was about to get even closer. Moment 3. The RV in the junkyard. Walt and Jesse are inside the RV, or their mobile lab, at a junkyard trying to destroy it. Hank tracks them there. One wall of thin aluminum separates a DEA agent from Heisenberg. Hank is seconds from opening that door. Walt and Jesse are trapped with nowhere to go. Walt calls Saul, who fakes an emergency call claiming Marie has been airlifted to hospital. Hank abandons the search. It finds Marie completely fine. Hank knows he was played, but he misses the real question. Who knew exactly where he was, what he was doing, and that Marie was his pressure point? His brother-in-law had just called him from that same junkyard. The fake call didn't just save Walt, it revealed that someone with intimate knowledge of Hank's life was pulling the strings. The fake call was a roadmap. Hank directed his anger at Jesse and moved on. And then came the moment Hank practically said Walt's name out loud. Moment 4. Willy Wonka? Walter White? Hank is obsessed with Gail Boticher, convinced he's Heisenberg's cook. Gail's personal lab notes are full of advanced chemistry and a handwritten dedication to someone identified only as WW. Hank shows the notes to Walt, hoping the chemistry teacher can help decode them. Walt reads carefully. Then Hank points to the initials and says, Woodrow Wilson, Willy Wonka, Walter White. Walt flinches, then laughs, raises his hands. You got me. Hank laughs too. The moment evaporates. Walt confessed, again, early as a joke. Convinced Gail was his guy, Hank closed the case in his own mind and told colleagues Heisenberg was dead. Walt exhaled. Gail's notes praised his mentor. Walt was that mentor. The connection was sitting right there in Hank's hands. But perhaps no moment was more painful than this last one. Moment 5. The Heisenberg sketch. By season 3, the DEA has a sketch of Heisenberg. Bald, middle-aged, glasses, pork pie hat. Based on witness descriptions, including Badger telling Hank directly it was an older guy, no hair. The sketch looks like Walter White. Hank has seen Walt in exactly this appearance, bald from chemo, sometimes wearing a hat. They share meals. They watch football. The sketch is pinned to his board at the DEA office. Hank never connects it. The sketch gets filed under cartel linked due to Tuco's early involvement. Walt's cancer explains the baldness. Hank accepts all of it. Every piece was on his desk. The blue drug appeared when Walt's behavior changed. Walt had the chemistry knowledge, the financial motive, and matched the physical description exactly. At any point, a single moment of suspicion directed at his own family would have unraveled everything. What Hank lacked wasn't evidence. He lacked the willingness to point that evidence at his own family. Walt's greatest shield was never the hat. It was Hank's love for him. Hank wasn't a bad detective. He cracked Gus Fring. He tracked the cartel across 3 states. He was relentless. He failed because of one assumption he never questioned. Walter White was a good man, and extraordinary criminals in Hank's world were not ordinary men. Walt's greatest disguise was never the pork pie hat. It was the cardigan he wore to Thanksgiving dinner. By the time Hank found that Walt Whitman book on his bathroom shelf, it was already too late. That was always the real tragedy. He was one assumption away from the truth, and he made it 1,000 times.